You call this an adaptation of the Odyssey? I mean, Mario didn't even show up one time during this movie. Greetings my fancy friends, welcome back to the channel, and today I get to finally talk about The Odyssey. Directed by Christopher Nolan and stars Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, and I was so ecstatic for this film. I love most of Christopher Nolan's movies. Oppenheimer is one of my favorite films of this decade, and when I heard that he was making an adaptation of The Odyssey, and we saw that first trailer last year, I was immediately locked in. I was so ecstatic for this film, and man, it truly delivered. There are so many things to go over in this film, and honestly, I gotta give you a little bit of background about my knowledge of The Odyssey, and that is, I don't have much. I'll be honest, I really don't remember much about the story when I learned about it in high school or the Iliad. I just kinda don't remember learning anything about it. I'm more of a Norse mythology kind of guy than a Greek mythology kind of guy. So I wanted to try and read The Odyssey before I saw this film, and it kind of went something like this. Yeah, I'll be honest, I tried to read it, could not get through it. It's a very hard read for me, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go into this movie with not too much knowledge and kind of experience this story on its own merits and not even see how good of an adaptation it is, and just go in and seeing how good of a movie it is. And man, this is a damn good movie. Let's go ahead and discuss the thing that everybody is gonna be raving about for this film, and that is the technical aspects. My God, I didn't get the chance to see this in 70mm, but I saw this in IMAX, and whoa, this is one of the most beautiful looking films of the decade. My God, every single frame in this film looks like it could be a painting. It is that gorgeous. This is Christopher Nolan's best looking film by far. I mean, look at these shots, look at these set designs. Everything in this film is just extraordinary. With this film, we get to truly see how Christopher Nolan has grown as a director and filmmaker, because this is one of the best looking films I have ever seen. There are so many scenes in this film where the entire theater was just dead silent, just enthralled by what they were looking at. And in fact, I had a pretty good theater experience too. There was one person that was next to me that was kind of recording the movie during some parts. I kind of had to elbow him, but for the most part, everybody was just enthralled by what they were looking at. This is just one of the best looking films of the decade. And all of the practical effects are just a sight to behold, from the buildings, to the boats, to the costumes, to the monsters. The part where you see the Cyclops and how I learned that was an actual puppet that they made and not CGI, that is one of the coolest effects I have seen for a film in a very long time. And the sound design for the Cyclops is just mwah, it is so perfect. All the little practical effects are just, they're just amazing. And they make me think, how the hell did they do that? There's one part where the troops go through a forest and these giant soldiers are attacking them. And apparently, that was all practical, not CGI. And I'm thinking, how the hell did they make it to where they made these giant soldiers? Were these guys on stilts or something? This movie just made me question all these different things I was seeing and make me wonder, how did they do this? That's freaking cinema, dude. When a film can make me just be in awe of what I'm looking at. That's a good feeling, man. And the music by Ludwig Göransson. Wrap it up. We already have the best soundtrack of the year. There is no other word to describe this soundtrack other than epic. It gets your heart pumping during some of these scenes, especially during the fight of the Trojan War, where they're going up against the city of Troy. That part in particular, the song that they use for that part, oh my God. And one part where they see the soldiers of hell and how eerie the music is during that scene, Every single score in this film just adds to the scenes. It doesn't feel like it's fluff or just put in there just to have music. It is expertly woven into this film. But this is a Christopher Nolan film. Of course it was gonna look beautiful, have great effects, great cinematography, great music, but how is the storytelling? The heart of movies. And for the most part, I think the storytelling here is just amazing. Now, like I said, I'm not super familiar with the story of the Odyssey or the Iliad, so I kind of went in with a fresh mind to experience this narrative. And honestly, this was just an enthralling, engaging story. So if you aren't really familiar with the story of the Odyssey like I was, the story pretty much is just Odysseus after the Trojan War on a grand journey to get back home. And pretty much everything that you think could go wrong on this trip goes wrong. Odysseus goes up against some grand foes here, like a Cyclops or a raging whirlpool, or some tall soldiers or the soldiers of hell, or even the gods themselves. And this journey that Odysseus goes on is just epic. I mean, that's just the best way to describe this film. It's just epic. I mean, the way how this film tells its narrative, I felt like I was transported to this world of gods and men. And the way how the story is told, like, I felt like I was just in the halls of Odysseus' kingdom, listening to his stories. The storytelling here feels like a campfire story, like I'm just listening to someone tell this narrative. It's beautifully told in this movie. And all the characters are great too. I really love what they did with Penelope in this movie, played by Anne Hathaway, making her character feel like she is someone that is just trapped into this kingdom with all these suitors wanting to be the next husband because Odysseus has been gone for so long. We see the pain and torment that she's going through with the struggle of missing her husband. Penelope's character is great in this film. And Antinous, played by Robert Pattinson, he is just smug, slimy, and conniving. He is such a good antagonist in this film, him wanting the throne of this kingdom. Though I do think one character I wasn't super invested in was Telemachus, played by Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland does an actual good job in this film, surprisingly. Like, I think he's a good actor. He's been in some good stuff besides Spider-Man, but honestly, all I can really see is Spider-Man every time I see him, you know? But in here, I thought he actually did a good job in this film. He's not as great as, say, Robert Pattinson or Matt Damon. Those two are the stars of this film by far. But Tom Holland does a really good job. But with his character, I just wasn't super invested in him, unfortunately. Which is unfortunate because it is an important part of this story. He wants to go and learn more about his father. But every time we learn more about this part of the story, I was kind of just waiting for them to go back to more of Odysseus' part of the story. Like, I wasn't really super invested in Telemachus just trying to learn more about his dad. But it is important to the story because it is integral to the last act of the movie. But every time we kind of got to Telemachus, I was like, can we go back to Odysseus? But speaking of Odysseus, his character is just the heart of this film. He is the best character by far. What I really love about Odysseus in this film compared to other adaptations of the Odyssey is that they don't really make Odysseus smug or full of himself or kind of a gloater. Like, he's an actual character that just feels the weight and torment of this journey and the weight and anguish that he feels for the Trojan War. You see, Odysseus in this film is someone that truly believes everyone should have a fighting chance in battle. That's why he always plucks the string of his bow whenever he goes hunting. He wants to give his prey a fighting chance. And in this film, they used the Trojan horse. They snuck into the kingdom of Troy. They never gave its people a fighting chance because they snuck into battle. And we see the pain and anguish that Odysseus feels for pretty much cheating the enemy. And then they have this whole entire mythology about the rule of Zeus, about letting others into your home. And the whole story just revolving around the weight and anguish that Odysseus feels because of the Battle of Troy is just expertly woven into this film. And the way how that ties into Athena, played by Zendaya, with her character, when that reveal happens, it's truly a gut punch. And man, just this whole grand epic tale is just, it's incredible, man. It's truly just a sight to behold. The storytelling is just some of the best work by Christopher Nolan. Like, I'm surprised at how good this story is. Now, I do have a few very minor complaints about the movie. I know people are complaining about the length of the movie, thinking that it's too long. Personally, I don't think it's too long, but I think the pacing is a little wonky here and there. There are parts of the film stretches out scenes for quite a while where I'm like, okay, the film is slowing down a little bit, especially when we revolve around Telemachus, like I mentioned before. But this is a grand epic journey. Of course, the story is going to be long. I mean, what were you expecting? And one thing that I do have a complaint about with the film is more of just a me problem than a movie problem, and that is, the movie mentions these gods and other characters, and every time they mention a certain god or character that I didn't know about, I'm like, I have no idea who the hell you're talking about. Like, I don't know who this character is, I don't know what's going on. I mean, sure, I know about Poseidon, Zeus, Athena, basic gods like that, but any other god, I'm like, I have no idea. So, because I'm not super informed on Greek mythology, there were parts of the story that kind of went over my head. Even things about the Trojan War, I know why the Trojan War happened and the Battle of Troy and all that, but the film doesn't really fully go into the background of that story, and anytime some stuff is mentioned, I'm like, I'm lost. But like I said, that's a me problem, not a movie problem, because I was uninformed on that part of the story. But that's kind of all the complaints I have, because I do have one more praise to give this film, and that is the action in this movie, especially during the Battle of Troy. The last 45 minutes of this movie felt like I was on a sugar rush after taking 100 pounds of cocaine. It was just exhilarating from beginning to end. That final act when Odysseus goes back to his kingdom. Wow. Just wow. Christopher Nolan has never really been the best when it comes to directing action, especially if you rewatch his Batman films. The action in those movies are kind of bad. But here, the action is just mwah. It's grand. Guys, if it wasn't obvious enough already, I truly loved this movie. This is just cinema. This is the reason why people love to go see movies. For grand epic stories with amazing visual effects, great cinematography, great music. I mean, what else can you say but absolute cinema? Which is why I'm gonna give the Odyssey the holy top hat. I love movies. I love movies so much. To all my fancy friends out there, thank you so much for watching. If it's your first time hearing what you've seen, be sure to subscribe for more content. And have you seen the Odyssey? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you have a fantastic night. And as always, stay fancy.